CompTIA A+, Core 1, 220-1201 Practice Exam. Assuming that you have studied and are now well-versed in all the topics outlined in the CompTIA A+, Core 1 exam objectives, then you are ready for the next step in your certification journey. This video is filled with 200+ questions that closely resemble the real exam and will help you to gauge your readiness. So, are you prepared to test your knowledge? Great, let's begin. Question 1. A technician is setting up a new UPS for a small office. The UPS is intended to keep critical equipment running during a brief power outage. Which of the following is the proper way to connect the UPS and critical devices? The answer is B. Plug the UPS directly into a grounded wall outlet. An uninterruptible power supply, or UPS, should always be connected directly to a properly grounded wall outlet to ensure stable voltage and grounding protection. This allows the UPS to function correctly during surges, sags, or power loss. Critical devices such as network switches, routers, and servers should be plugged into the battery-backed outlets of the UPS so they remain powered during short outages. Non-critical devices like printers and scanners should be connected elsewhere to prevent overloading the UPS and reducing battery runtime. Question 2. A technician receives a smart alert indicating a predicted hard drive failure on a workstation. Which of the following should the technician do next? The answer is C. Back up all data immediately and replace the drive. Self-monitoring, analysis, and reporting technology, also referred to as smart technology, detects early signs of drive failure by monitoring drive performance and error rates. When a smart alert appears, the technician should back up all important data immediately to prevent loss, then replace the failing drive before it becomes unreadable. Question 3. A technician must replace a failed SAS hard drive in a server. Which of the following replacement options is most appropriate? The answer is C. Install another SAS drive. Serial Attached SCSI, or SAS drives, use a unique interface and controller designed for enterprise environments that require high speed and reliability. To maintain compatibility and performance, the failed SAS drive should be replaced with another SAS drive that matches the same specifications for form factor and capacity. Mixing SAS with SATA, IDE, or other storage technologies can cause hardware recognition failures or degraded performance. Question 4. A technician observes that a desktop computer shuts down a few minutes after startup. In the BIOS, the CPU temperature reads 100 degrees Celsius. Which of the following is the most likely cause of the shutdowns? The answer is D. Overheating of the processor. A CPU temperature of 100 degrees Celsius indicates severe overheating. When heat builds up beyond safe operating limits, modern systems perform a thermal shutdown to protect the CPU from permanent damage. Overheating can result from a loose or improperly seated heatsink, dried or missing thermal paste, a failed or obstructed cooling fan, or poor airflow inside the case. Question 5. A technician inspects a computer that repeatedly overheats and shuts down. In the BIOS, the CPU frequency is set to 4.5 GHz, which is higher than the processor's rated speed. Which of the following is the most likely cause of the overheating? The answer is A. Overclocking. An overclocked processor runs at a higher frequency than its manufacturer rating, which increases power consumption and heat output. A CPU set to 4.5 GHz, when designed for a lower base frequency, will produce significantly more heat, often exceeding the cooling system's capacity. This can lead to thermal throttling or automatic shutdowns. As explained previously, excessive CPU temperatures can also result from poor cooling, but overclocking adds additional stress even when cooling components are functioning properly. To resolve the issue, the technician should return the processor to its default clock speed or improve upon the existing cooling. Question 6. A user reports that an all-in-one printer produces vertical lines when copying or scanning documents, but printed pages appear normal. Which of the following components is most likely the cause? The answer is C. Document feeder. When vertical lines appear only on copies or scans and not on printed pages, the issue is related to the document feeder or the scanning glass. Dirt, dust, or damage on the narrow glass strip used by the document feeder can create vertical lines during scanning or copying. Because print jobs use a different imaging path, they remain unaffected by this issue. Question 7. A global company must store customer information in specific regions to comply with local privacy laws, but still wants to take advantage of public cloud scalability for general operations. Which of the following is an advantage of using a hybrid cloud model in this situation? The answer is A. Meet data residency requirements. A hybrid cloud model combines public and private cloud environments. This allows organizations to keep sensitive or regulated data on private infrastructure while using public cloud resources for less critical workloads. In this scenario, the hybrid approach enables the company to meet data residency requirements by storing customer information in specific regions while still benefiting from the flexibility and scalability of the public cloud. Question 8. A technician notices that a PC loses its system date and time settings after every power outage. Which of the following should the technician do to resolve the issue? The answer is A. Replace the CMOS battery and test the backup power source. When a computer loses its date and time after power loss, the issue is usually a failed CMOS battery or an unstable backup power source. The CMOS battery maintains BIOS settings, including the system clock, when the system is turned off. Replacing the battery and confirming that the motherboard is receiving stable standby power ensures the system retains its configuration even during power outages. Question 9. A network administrator wants a specific workstation to always receive the same IP address from the DHCP server. Which of the following actions should the technician take? The answer is B. Create a DHCP reservation. A DHCP reservation ensures that a device always receives the same IP address from the DHCP server each time it connects. The reservation is created by linking the device's MAC address to a specific IP address within the DHCP scope. This approach combines the convenience of DHCP with the consistency of a static IP address, making it ideal for printers, servers, or other network devices that need a fixed address. Question 10. A user reports that their smartphone charges intermittently and sometimes does not charge at all, even when using different cables and adapters. Which of the following is the most likely cause of the issue? The answer is D. Dirty or damaged charging port. If a smartphone charges inconsistently, despite using known good cables and adapters, the most likely cause is a dirty or damaged charging port. Dust, lint, or bent contacts inside the port can interrupt the electrical connection between the cable and the device. If encountered, cleaning the port gently with compressed air or replacing the port assembly typically resolves the issue. Question 11. A network technician is configuring a router to send log messages to a centralized location for easier monitoring and troubleshooting. Which of the following network services should be configured? The answer is D. Syslog. Syslog is a system logging protocol that is used to collect and store event messages from devices such as routers, switches, firewalls, servers, and workstations. By sending logs to a centralized syslog server, administrators can monitor system activity, detect issues, and maintain records for security and compliance. Question 12. A user reports that their computer takes a long time to start and open applications. A technician confirms the system is using an older mechanical hard drive. Which of the following hardware upgrades would best improve startup and load times? The answer is A. Replace the HDD with an SSD. Mechanical hard disk drives use spinning platters and read-write heads, which result in slower data access compared to solid-state drives that use flash memory. Replacing an HDD with an SSD dramatically improves boot times, application load speeds, and overall system responsiveness. SSDs have no moving parts, making them faster, more durable, and energy efficient. Question 13. A technician is selecting a modular power supply for a new computer build. Which of the following is the primary benefit of using a modular power supply? The answer is C. Improved airflow and easier cable management. A modular power supply allows users to connect only the cables needed for their specific components, reducing clutter inside the case. Fewer cables improve airflow, simplify cable management, and make maintenance or upgrades easier. This design is especially helpful in smaller cases or high-performance builds where efficient cooling is critical. Question 14. A user reports that their smartphone can make calls while traveling, but cannot access mobile data. The technician confirms that the device is connected to a foreign carrier network. Which of the following should the technician do to restore mobile data connectivity? The answer is B. Enable data roaming. When traveling outside the home network, mobile devices often connect to partner networks. To use mobile data on these networks, data roaming must be enabled in the device's cellular settings. If it is disabled, the phone can still make calls or send texts but will not transmit data. Enabling data roaming allows internet access through the foreign carrier, though extra charges may apply depending on the user's plan. Question 15. A technician is installing network cables above a drop ceiling where air circulates for the building's HVAC system. Which type of cable should the technician use in this environment? The answer is A. Plenum-rated. A plenum-rated cable is designed for use in air-handling spaces, such as drop ceilings or raised floors where supply or return air flows through the area. These cables are coated with a low-smoke, fire-resistant material that prevents toxic fumes during a fire. Question 16. A user reports that their desktop computer has recently become very loud, with fans running at high speed. Which of the following is the most likely cause of this issue? The answer is B. Overheating components. When system fans run loudly or constantly at high speed, it usually indicates that the system is overheating. Excess heat causes the fans to increase speed to maintain safe operating temperatures. This can be due to dust buildup, poor airflow, a failed fan, or dried thermal paste on the CPU or GPU. Cleaning the fans, checking air vents, and ensuring proper cooling often resolves the issue. Question 17. A technician is configuring a managed switch and needs to separate network traffic for different departments while using the same physical hardware. Which of the following features would allow the technician to assign ports to specific network segments? The answer is C. Port VLAN assignment. A managed switch supports advanced configuration options such as VLAN assignments, which allow individual ports to be grouped into separate logical networks. This isolates traffic between departments, improves security, and optimizes performance without requiring additional physical switches. Question 18. A technician is setting up a virtualization environment and wants the hypervisor to run directly on the host's hardware instead of needing an underlying OS. Which of the following types of hypervisors should the technician install? The answer is A. Type 1 hypervisor. A Type 1 hypervisor, also known as a bare metal hypervisor, installs directly onto the host hardware without requiring an underlying operating system. This design provides superior performance, resource management, and stability, making it ideal for enterprise and server environments. In contrast, a Type 2 hypervisor runs as an application within an existing OS, making it easier to set up but less efficient due to the extra software layer. Question 19. A technician is configuring a file transfer service. Which of the following port numbers should the technician most likely allow through the firewall? The answer is A. 21. File Transfer Protocol, or FTP, uses TCP port 21 to establish connections between a client and a server for transferring files. It is one of the oldest network protocols and is used to upload, download, and manage files on remote systems. Question 20. A technician needs to configure a Windows computer to access shared files and printers located on another system within the same network. Which of the following protocols is used for this purpose? The answer is D. SMB. Server Message Block, or SMB, is a network protocol used by Windows systems for file and printer sharing. It allows users and applications to access files, folders, and network resources on remote systems as if they were local. SMB typically uses TCP port 445 for direct communication and is essential for Windows file sharing. Question 21. A user connects a second monitor to a workstation, but both screens display the same image. Which of the following should the technician configure to use both screens independently? The answer is A. Change to extended mode. When two monitors show the same image, the display is set to duplicate mode. To use both screens independently, the technician must change the display setting to extended mode, which expands the desktop across multiple screens. This can be configured through display settings in Windows or by pressing Windows plus P and selecting Extend. Question 22. A user wants to transfer contact information between two smartphones by tapping them together. Which of the following technologies allows for this type of short-distance wireless communication? The answer is C. NFC. Near Field Communication, or NFC, enables short-distance wireless connections, typically within a few centimeters, between compatible devices. It is commonly used for contactless payments and quick data transfers by bringing devices close together. Question 23. A small office network connects several computers, printers, and a file server within the same building using Ethernet cables and a switch. Which of the following best describes this type of network? The answer is C. LAN. A local area network, or LAN, connects devices within a limited geographic area, such as a single office or building. It provides high-speed communication and resource sharing, often using Ethernet cable connections. Unlike WANs, which connect networks over large distances, LANs are typically owned, maintained, and managed by a single organization. Question 24. A user is traveling with a laptop and needs internet access, but only has a smartphone with a cellular data connection. Which of the following features would allow the user to share the phone's mobile data connection with a laptop? The answer is B. Tethering. Tethering allows a smartphone to share its cellular data connection with another device, such as a laptop or tablet. It effectively lets the connected device access the internet through the phone's mobile network when Wi-Fi is unavailable. Tethering is especially useful for remote work, travel, or backup connectivity, though it can consume more battery power and data from the user's mobile plan. Question 25. A technician presses the power button on a desktop computer, but the device does not boot. No fans spin, no lights turn on, and no startup sounds are heard. Which of the following components is most likely causing the issue? The answer is D. PSU. A power supply unit, or PSU, converts AC power from the wall outlet into DC power for the computer's internal components. If the PSU fails or provides no output, the system will not start, and no fans or lights will activate. Technicians can verify this by testing the PSU with a multimeter or a known good power supply. Replacing the PSU usually resolves the issue if all other components are functioning properly. Question 26. A technician is troubleshooting a laser printer that is producing faded prints, paper jams, and streaks on multiple pages. Which of the following actions should the technician take to resolve these issues? The answer is C. Apply a maintenance kit. A laser printer maintenance kit includes replacement parts such as pickup rollers, transfer rollers, fusers, and separation pads that wear out over time. Applying a maintenance kit can resolve multiple mechanical and print quality issues such as paper jams, faded output, and streaking. These kits are part of routine preventive maintenance and help extend the printer's service life. Question 27. A technician learns that a newly discovered security vulnerability affects the network routers used throughout the company. Which of the following actions should the technician take to mitigate this issue? The answer is D. Update the firmware. Firmware updates often include security patches, bug fixes, and performance improvements released by the device manufacturer. These updates address newly discovered vulnerabilities that could be exploited by attackers to gain unauthorized access or disrupt device operation. Keeping firmware current ensures the device remains protected against known threats, maintains compatibility with modern hardware and software, and continues to operate reliably. Question 28. A technician powers on a computer and it successfully completes post with no error codes. However, the system does not load the OS. Which of the following components is most likely causing the issue? The answer is B. HDD. During the power-on self-test, abbreviated as POST, the system checks essential hardware such as the CPU, RAM, motherboard, video output, and keyboard before attempting to load the operating system. If POST completes successfully but the OS fails to load, the issue usually lies with the hard drive. The drive may have failed, become disconnected, or is missing a valid boot sector. In this scenario, the technician should first verify that the HDD is recognized in the BIOS and that all data and power cables are securely connected. Question 29. A technician receives a suspicious file from a user and wants to examine it safely without risking damage to the operating system. Which of the following environments should the technician use to test the file? The answer is A. Sandbox. A sandbox is an isolated environment used to safely run or analyze untrusted files and programs without affecting the host system. It allows technicians to observe how a file behaves and detect any malicious actions while preventing system damage. Question 30. A technician is setting up a new display and wants to configure it to Ultra HD quality. Which of the following resolutions should the technician select? The answer is C, 3840 by 2160. Ultra HD, also known as 4K resolution, has a pixel dimension of 3840 by 2160. It provides 4 times the pixel count of full HD, resulting in sharper images and greater detail. Question 31. A user reports that their smartphone stylus will not charge when attached to the side of the device. The technician confirms that wireless charging is enabled and the stylus is properly aligned. Which of the following is the most likely cause of the issue? The answer is A, interference from the phone case. Many smartphones use inductive charging to power accessories such as styluses. If a phone case is too thick or made of materials that block magnetic fields, it can prevent the stylus from charging properly. Question 32. A technician is troubleshooting a laser printer that prints text correctly, but the toner easily rubs off the paper after printing. Which of the following components is most likely the cause of the issue? The answer is C, fuser assembly. The fuser assembly uses a combination of heat and pressure to permanently bond the toner to the paper during the final stage of the laser printing process. As the printed sheet passes through heated rollers, the toner particles melt and fuse into the paper fibers, creating a durable image or text. If the fuser is faulty, not heating evenly, or failing to reach the correct temperature, the toner will not properly adhere and can easily smudge or rub off. Question 33. A technician is troubleshooting weak Wi-Fi coverage in an office with several concrete walls. Which of the following frequency bands should the technician choose to improve signal penetration through the walls? The answer is C, 2.4 GHz. The 2.4 GHz frequency band provides better range and signal penetration through physical barriers such as concrete walls compared to higher frequencies like 5 GHz. While 5 GHz offers faster data rates than 2.4 GHz, its shorter wavelength makes it more susceptible to attenuation from solid objects. The 2.4 GHz band is therefore preferred in environments with thick walls or multiple obstructions. Question 34. A technician connects a wireless keyboard and headset to a laptop using Bluetooth. Which type of network is being created in this scenario? The answer is D, PAN. Bluetooth technology is used to create a personal area network, or PAN, which connects devices within a short range. PANs allow personal devices such as smartphones, headsets, keyboards, and laptops to communicate wirelessly without the need for network infrastructure. This makes Bluetooth ideal for quick, low-power, short-distance connections between nearby devices. Question 35. A group of healthcare organizations need to share cloud resources that are specifically designed to meet their industry's privacy and compliance requirements. Which of the following types of cloud models should they implement? The answer is B, community. A community cloud is a shared cloud infrastructure designed for use by multiple organizations within the same industry or with similar security and compliance needs. It allows participating organizations to collaborate and share resources while maintaining governance and data protection standards specific to their field, such as healthcare or finance. Question 36. An employee logs into their work desktop from home using a thin client and all processing takes place on a remote server rather than on the local device. Which of the following technologies is being used in this scenario? The answer is D. VDI. Virtual Desktop Infrastructure, or VDI, allows users to access a virtual desktop hosted on a centralized server. The user interface appears on the client device, but all applications and data are processed and stored remotely. This setup enables secure remote access, centralized management, and consistent desktop environments across multiple devices. Thin clients are commonly used for VDI since they require minimal local resources. Question 37. A company wants to create an off-site backup system that can quickly spin up virtual machines and restore operations if the primary data center goes down. Which of the following cloud models would best meet this need? The answer is A. IaaS. Infrastructure as a Service, or IaaS, provides virtualized computing resources such as servers, storage, and networking over the cloud. It allows organizations to quickly deploy virtual machines for disaster recovery or failover situations without needing to maintain physical hardware. This flexibility makes IaaS ideal for scalable and cost-effective backup and recovery solutions. Question 38. A technician is connecting a wireless headset to a smartphone using Bluetooth. During the pairing process, the device requests additional information before completing the connection. Which of the following is required to finish the pairing process? The answer is B. PIN code. Bluetooth devices often use a PIN code to authenticate and establish a secure connection during the pairing process. Entering the correct PIN ensures both devices agree on a shared key, preventing unauthorized connections. Once paired, the devices store the credentials for future automatic reconnections without needing to re-enter the code. Question 39. A technician connects a laptop to an external monitor using a USB-C to HDMI cable, but the display remains blank. The laptop's USB-C port is functioning correctly for charging and data transfer. Which of the following is the most likely cause of the issue? The answer is A. The USB-C port does not support Thunderbolt technology. Not all USB-C ports support video output. Some are limited to charging and data transfer, while others include additional features such as Thunderbolt or DisplayPort alternate mode that enable video transmission to external displays. In this case, the laptop's USB-C port does not support Thunderbolt technology, which means it cannot send a video signal to the monitor even though it works properly for charging and data transfer. Question 40. A technician is troubleshooting a server with a RAID 5 array that is experiencing unusually slow data access speeds. The technician notices an amber indicator light on one of the drives in the array. Which of the following actions should the technician take first? The answer is A. Replace the failed drive and rebuild the array. An amber light on a RAID drive typically indicates a failed or degraded disk. In a RAID 5 configuration, data and parity are distributed across all drives, allowing the array to continue operating after a single drive failure, but with significantly slower performance. The technician should replace the failed drive with a new one and rebuild the array to restore full redundancy and performance. Question 41. A technician needs to install several IP cameras in an area without nearby electrical outlets. The network equipment must provide both data connectivity and electrical power through a single Ethernet cable. Which of the following devices should the technician use? The answer is B. PoE switch. A power over Ethernet or PoE switch supplies both network data and electrical power to compatible devices through the same Ethernet cable. This eliminates the need for separate power adapters or outlets near the devices. PoE is commonly used for IP cameras, voice over IP phones, and wireless access points, making installation simpler and more efficient. Question 42. A technician is identifying components inside a desktop computer and points to the part responsible for connecting the system to a wired or wireless network. Which of the following components is being described? The answer is D. NIC. A network interface card, or NIC, enables a computer or other device to connect to a network. It can be built into the motherboard or installed as an expansion card and may support wired Ethernet or wireless connections. Each NIC has a unique MAC address used to identify the device on the network. Question 43. A user reports that their workstation intermittently loses network connectivity. The technician notices that the computer can access the network for a short time before disconnecting, and another user nearby reports the same issue. Which of the following is the most likely cause? The answer is A. Duplicate IP address. A duplicate IP address creates a conflict on the network, causing both devices to lose reliable communication. Symptoms often include intermittent connectivity, network drops, and inability to access shared resources or the internet. The affected devices may connect briefly before disconnecting as the network struggles to determine which device owns the IP address. Question 44. A technician is preparing to ship desktop computers to company offices overseas. To ensure the systems operate correctly when powered on in other countries, which of the following specifications must the technician verify on each power supply? The answer is C. Input voltage. Different regions around the world use different input voltages, typically 110 to 120 volts in North America and 220 to 240 volts in many other countries. The technician must verify that the power supply supports the correct input voltage or is switchable between the two. Using the wrong input voltage can damage the power supply or prevent the system from powering on. Question 45. A software development company wants to build and deploy custom web applications without managing the underlying servers or network infrastructure. The cloud provider will handle the operating systems, updates, and runtime environment. Which of the following cloud service models best meets these requirements? The answer is A. PaaS. Platform as a Service, or PaaS, provides developers with a managed environment to create, test, and deploy applications without maintaining the underlying hardware or operating systems. The provider manages the infrastructure and runtime components, allowing developers to focus solely on the code and application functionality. Common examples include Microsoft Azure App Services, Google App Engine, and AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Question 46. A technician notices that a network printer occasionally becomes unavailable because its IP address changes. Which of the following configurations should the technician implement to prevent this issue? The answer is B. Assign a static IP address. Assigning a static IP address to a network printer ensures that it always uses the same address, preventing connectivity issues caused by changing DHCP-assigned addresses. Static IPs are essential for devices that need to be consistently reachable on the network, such as printers, servers, and network-attached storage devices. Question 47. A technician is configuring DNS settings for a company's domain to ensure that all incoming email messages are routed to the organization's mail server. Which of the following DNS record types should the technician create? The answer is C. MX. An MX record identifies the mail server responsible for receiving and handling email for a specific domain. It directs email traffic to the correct destination, allowing messages sent to addresses such as user@company.com to reach the organization's mail server. Without a properly configured MS record, inbound emails cannot be delivered. Question 48. A technician receives reports of intermittent connectivity on a workstation connected to a managed switch. Upon inspection, the technician notices the port status light repeatedly turning on and off. Which of the following should the technician check first to confirm the cause of the issue? The answer is A. Network logs on the switch. Port flapping occurs when a switch port rapidly alternates between up and down states, often due to a faulty cable, bad NIC, or loose connection. To confirm the issue and identify patterns, the technician should first review the network logs on the switch. These logs record port status changes and help pinpoint whether the problem is hardware-related or caused by configuration or link instability. Question 49. A technician is updating a system's firmware when the power unexpectedly fails. After restarting, the system successfully loads using a backup configuration stored on the motherboard. Which of the following motherboard features allow this recovery to occur? The answer is B. Dual BIOS. A dual BIOS motherboard includes a primary or main BIOS and a secondary or backup BIOS. If the main BIOS becomes corrupted during an update or power failure, the system automatically switches to the backup version to recover. This feature prevents boot failures and protects the system from firmware-related corruption. Question 50. A company wants to host its cloud services on infrastructure that it owns and manages internally to maintain full control over data, security, and access. Which of the following types of cloud models best fits this description? The answer is D. Private. A private cloud is a cloud environment dedicated to a single organization. It is commonly managed internally and hosted on private infrastructure, giving the organization full control over data security, compliance, and access. Private clouds are often used by companies with strict data protection or regulatory requirements. Question 51. A user reports that they can access other devices on the local network, but cannot connect to websites or any resources on the internet. Which of the following network settings is most likely misconfigured? The answer is D. Default gateway. The default gateway serves as the exit point for all traffic leaving the local network, forwarding data to destinations outside the subnet, such as other networks or the internet. When the default gateway address is missing, unreachable, or configured incorrectly, the device can still communicate with other systems on the same local network, but cannot access external resources. Question 52. A user reports that a single key on their laptop keyboard no longer registers when pressed, while all other keys work correctly. Which of the following actions should the technician take to resolve the issue? The answer is A. Replace the damaged keycap. If only one keyboard key is damaged or unresponsive while others function properly, the issue is likely physical rather than software-related. The technician should replace the individual key or the keycap assembly if possible. If multiple keys fail or the issue persists after replacement, the entire keyboard may need to be replaced. Question 53. A remote user working from home reports being unable to log in to their corporate domain account or access shared company resources. The technician confirms that the user has internet access. Which of the following actions should the technician take to resolve the issue? The answer is B. Connect to the corporate VPN. For a remote user to connect to internal company resources such as domain controllers, shared folders, printers, and internal applications, a corporate VPN is required. The VPN creates an encrypted tunnel between the user's device and the corporate network, allowing secure communication as if the user were physically on site. Without an active VPN connection, authentication requests and resource access attempts cannot reach the internal network, resulting in failed logins and blocked access. Question 54. A technician is upgrading a workstation to improve overall system performance and reduce application load times. Which of the following storage options would provide the fastest data access speeds? The answer is C. NVMe SSD. An NVMe SSD offers the fastest storage performance available because it utilizes the PCIe interface to communicate directly with system RAM and the CPU. Unlike SATA-based drives, NVMe eliminates older data transfer bottlenecks, resulting in extremely low latency and much higher throughput. Question 55. A technician finds that a workstation cannot connect to the internet or other network devices. The computer's IP address is listed as 169.254.23.45. Which of the following best describes this type of address assignment? The answer is C. Self-assignment. An IP address in the 169.254 range indicates that the device has self-assigned an address using automatic private IP addressing, also referred to as a PIPA. This often occurs when the device cannot reach a DHCP server to obtain a valid network address. When this happens, the system assigns itself an APIPA address to allow limited local communication with other APIPA devices, but cannot access external networks or the internet. Question 56. A user needs to connect multiple external monitors, a full-sized keyboard, a mouse, and an Ethernet cable to a laptop while working at their desk. The laptop has limited built-in ports. Which of the following should the technician recommend to expand the laptop's connection options? The answer is A. Docking station. A docking station provides specialized ports that allow a laptop to connect to multiple peripherals and displays simultaneously. It expands the laptop's connectivity options beyond what is available on the built-in ports, often including Ethernet, HDMI, DisplayPort, USB, and audio connections. Docking stations are ideal for users who move between mobile and desktop work environments and want a quick way to connect to all their devices. Question 57. A technician is creating custom Ethernet cables for a new office installation and needs to attach RJ45 connectors to the cable ends. Which of the following tools should the technician use to complete this task? The answer is B. Crimper. A crimper is used to terminate Ethernet cables by attaching RJ45 connectors to the ends of twisted pair network cables. The crimping tool presses the connector's metal pins into the wire conductors, securing the connection and allowing the cable to be used for data transmission. Question 58. A technician is troubleshooting a RAID 1 array that is reporting degraded status. The system can still access data, but performance has slowed. Which of the following should the technician do next to identify the failing drive? The answer is B. Perform individual drive diagnostics. In a RAID 1 configuration, data is written to two drives simultaneously for redundancy. When the array becomes degraded, It usually indicates that one of the drives is failing. The technician should first perform individual drive diagnostics to determine which drive is causing the issue before replacing it. After identifying and replacing the faulty drive, the RAID controller can rebuild the mirror to restore full redundancy. Question 59. A company wants to configure a storage array that provides high fault tolerance and can continue to operate even if two drives fail. Which of the following RAID levels should the technician choose? The answer is D. RAID 6. RAID 6 uses block-level striping with double distributed parity, allowing the array to withstand the failure of up to two drives without data loss. This provides higher fault tolerance than RAID 5, which can only recover from a single drive failure. RAID 6 is ideal for environments requiring both large storage capacity and strong data protection, such as file servers or archival systems. Question 60. A user reports that part of an image is cut off when printing a wide document from an application. The technician confirms the correct printer and paper size are selected. Which of the following actions should the technician take to resolve the issue? The answer is C. Switch from portrait to landscape. When a document or image is wider than it is tall, printing in portrait orientation can cause part of the content to be cut off. Changing the page orientation to landscape allows the printer to use the paper's longer side, ensuring the entire image or document fits on the page. This setting can be adjusted in the print dialog box or page setup options within the application. Question 61. A technician is building a new server that will run critical business applications and must be able to automatically detect and correct memory errors. Which of the following types of RAM should the technician install? The answer is B. ECC. ECC memory can detect and correct single-bit memory errors automatically, helping prevent system crashes and data corruption. It is commonly used in servers and workstations where stability and data integrity are critical. Unlike standard RAM, ECC modules include extra bits for error detection and correction, but are typically more expensive and require motherboard support. Question 62. A technician powers on a computer, but the system fails to complete post and emits a series of audible beeps. The technician confirms that the PSU is functioning properly. Which of the following should the technician do next to resolve the issue? The answer is D. Reset the RAM. When a system fails post and produces audible beeps, it typically indicates a hardware issue. The technician should start by powering down the system and checking simple items first, such as ensuring all components are properly seated and securely connected. Question 63. A company is considering implementing VDI for its employees. Management wants to understand the main advantages of using this technology compared to traditional desktops. Which of the following is a primary benefit of using VDI? The answer is A. Reduces local storage requirements and simplifies management. Virtual Desktop Infrastructure, or VDI, hosts desktop environments on a centralized server, allowing users to access their desktops remotely from thin clients or other devices. This setup reduces local storage needs, enables centralized management and updates, and improves security and data control, since information is stored on the server rather than individual machines. VDI also allows for easier remote access and scalability across the organization. Question 64. A company wants employees to securely access corporate email, documents, and applications on their mobile devices while maintaining control over security policies and data. Which of the following technologies should the company implement? The answer is A. MDM. Mobile Device Management, or MDM for short, allows administrators to remotely manage, secure, and configure mobile devices that access corporate resources. It enforces policies such as password requirements, data encryption, and remote wipe capabilities. MDM solutions help protect sensitive company data while enabling employees to securely use their smartphones or tablets for work-related tasks such as accessing email, cloud storage, and internal apps. Question 65. A technician is enabling BitLocker drive encryption on a Windows laptop, but the setup cannot proceed because the system reports that a required security feature is missing. Which of the following must be present to complete the encryption setup? The answer is C. TPM. BitLocker uses a TPM to securely store the encryption keys used for full disk encryption. The TPM is a dedicated chip on the motherboard that provides hardware-based security by verifying the integrity of the system during startup. Without a TPM, BitLocker cannot automatically unlock the drive, requiring manual authentication methods such as a USB key. Question 66. A user reports that their Windows computer has become very slow and unresponsive. The technician opens Task Manager and observes that memory usage is near 100%. Which of the following is the most likely cause of the issue? The answer is C. Too many open applications. When a computer's memory usage reaches 100%, it indicates that the system has exhausted its available RAM. This often occurs when too many applications are open at the same time, forcing the operating system to rely on slower virtual memory stored on the hard drive. As a result, system performance slows dramatically, causing lag and unresponsiveness. Closing unnecessary programs or increasing the amount of physical RAM can often resolve this issue. Question 67. A technician sets up a projector for a presentation, but the image appears distorted with the top of the picture wider than the bottom. Adjusting the focus and zoom does not correct the problem. Which of the following settings should the technician adjust to fix the image? The answer is C. Keystone. A keystone adjustment corrects the trapezoidal distortion that occurs when a projector is not aligned perpendicular to the screen. This happens when the projector is tilted upward, downward, or off-center. Adjusting the keystone setting digitally or manually reshapes the image so the sides are parallel and the picture appears rectangular. Question 68. A technician is troubleshooting a projector that unexpectedly shuts down a few minutes after being powered on. Based on this information, which of the following actions should the technician most likely take to resolve the issue? The answer is B. Clean the filter. Projectors generate significant heat during operation and rely on proper airflow to stay cool. If the air filter becomes clogged with dust, airflow is restricted, causing the projector to overheat and shut down to protect its internal components. Cleaning or replacing the air filter allows adequate ventilation and prevents thermal shutdowns. Question 69. A company wants a backup internet connection that can automatically provide network access through a wireless carrier if the primary wired service fails. Which of the following connection types should the technician configure as the failover option? The answer is D. Cellular. A cellular connection provides internet access through a wireless mobile network, making it an ideal choice for failover connectivity when the primary wired link goes down. Routers with built-in cellular capabilities or external cellular modems can automatically switch to the mobile network during outages, maintaining continuous internet access without requiring any new infrastructure. Question 70. A technician is selecting hard drives for a server in a corporate data center. The drives must support continuous enterprise operation, deliver high performance, and ensure maximum reliability. Which of the following drive types should the technician choose? The answer is A. SAS. Serial attached SCSI, or SAS drives, are primarily used in enterprise environments such as servers and data centers. They offer higher reliability, faster speeds, and better error correction compared to consumer-grade drives. SAS interfaces also support multiple simultaneous data transfers and are designed for continuous operation in demanding workloads where uptime and performance are critical. Question 71. A technician installs two identical RAM modules into a workstation, but the system does not show the expected performance improvement. While reviewing the system information, the technician notices the memory is running in single-channel mode. Which of the following should the technician check to enable dual-channel operation? The answer is B. Channel configuration. Dual-channel memory requires RAM modules to be installed in the correct paired slots so the motherboard can access them simultaneously. If the modules are placed in the wrong slots, the system will run in single-channel mode, reducing performance. Verifying the channel configuration ensures the RAM is installed in the proper paired slots, allowing dual-channel operation and improving overall throughput and responsiveness. Question 72. A technician is explaining the difference between NFC and Bluetooth to a user who wants to connect wireless devices. Which of the following statements is correct? The answer is C. NFC operates at only a few centimeters. Near-field communication, or NFC, works at an extremely short range, typically just a few centimeters, making it ideal for tap-to-pay, quick pairing, and other secure proximity-based interactions. Bluetooth, on the other hand, operates at much longer distances, commonly up to 10 meters, and is used for connecting devices like headsets, keyboards, mice, and speakers. Question 73. A user reports that their printer is frequently experiencing paper jams. The technician removes the jammed pages and reloads the tray, but the problem continues to occur after just a few pages are printed. Which of the following actions should the technician take next? The answer is D. Check and clean the rollers. Paper jams often occur when the pickup rollers or feed rollers become dirty, worn, or coated in dust. These rollers are responsible for grabbing and feeding paper through the printer. Cleaning them restores proper grip and helps prevent repeated jams. If cleaning does not resolve the issue, the rollers may need to be replaced. If the issue still persists after cleaning and replacing the rollers, then you can go with option C and take the printer to an empty field and beat it with a baseball bat. It worked in the movie Office Space. Question 74. A user reports that their external monitor flickers intermittently throughout the day. When the technician gently moves the video cable, the flickering briefly stops and then returns. Which of the following should the technician do next to resolve the issue? The answer is D. Replace the HDMI cable. Intermittent screen flickering is often caused by a damaged or loose video cable, especially when movement of the cable affects the display. Replacing the HDMI cable with a new, properly functioning cable restores a stable signal between the computer and the monitor. Faulty or low-quality cables are common causes of flickering and signal drops. Question 75. A technician is configuring a small office network and needs a service that can automatically assign IP addresses, subnet masks, default gateways, and DNS server information to client devices. Which of the following network services performs this function? The answer is D. DHCP. A DHCP server automatically assigns essential network settings to client devices, including IP addresses, subnet masks, default gateways, and DNS information. This eliminates the need for manual configuration and ensures consistent, conflict-free addressing across the network. Question 76. A technician is troubleshooting a remote access issue and discovers that the user is attempting to connect to a Windows system using the built-in remote desktop feature. The technician wants to verify that the correct service port is being used for the connection. Which of the following port numbers is associated with this service? The answer is C. 3389. Port 3389 is used by Remote Desktop Protocol, which provides the ability to remotely access and control a Windows system. Through this port, a remote device can open a full graphical desktop session and interact with the workstation or server as if sitting directly in front of it. RDP is widely used for remote support, system administration, and accessing work computers from off-site locations. Question 77. A company wants to use an online customer relationship management platform without installing or maintaining any software on local systems. Users will access the application through a web browser, and all updates, security, and backend management will be handled by the provider. Which of the following cloud service models is the company using? The answer is D. SaaS. Software as a service, or SaaS, delivers fully managed applications over the internet. Users access the software through a browser while the provider handles installation, updates, security, and backend infrastructure. SaaS is ideal for services like email, CRM platforms, office productivity suites, and collaboration tools, where organizations want to use the application without maintaining local software. Question 78. A technician needs to temporarily disable several unused Ethernet ports in a wiring closet to improve security and prevent unauthorized devices from connecting to the network. Which of the following types of network equipment provides this capability? The answer is A. Managed switch. A managed switch allows administrators to configure and control individual switch ports, including enabling, disabling, or monitoring them. This provides greater security, flexibility, and network management capabilities compared to an unmanaged switch, which offers no port-level configuration. Port control is commonly used to block unused connections, isolate devices, or troubleshoot network issues. Question 79. A user reports a strong burning smell coming from their desktop computer. The system powers on but shuts down shortly afterward. The technician suspects a possible liquid spill or internal component damage. Which of the following should the technician do first? The answer is A. Disconnect power sources. A burning smell indicates a potentially dangerous hardware issue, such as a liquid spill, overheating, or a failing component like a capacitor. The technician's first priority is to disconnect all power sources to prevent electrical damage or personal injury. Once the system is safely powered down and unplugged, the technician can inspect the internal components for signs of damage, such as residue, scorched areas, corrosion, or melted parts. Question 80. A user reports that their printer is pulling multiple sheets of paper at once, causing frequent jams. The technician confirms the correct paper type is loaded and that the tray is not overfilled. Which of the following components should the technician inspect and service to resolve the issue? The answer is B. Pickup roller and separation pad. When a printer pulls multiple sheets at the same time, the most common cause is worn or dirty pickup rollers or a failing separation pad. The pickup roller is responsible for grabbing a single sheet from the tray, while the separation pad creates friction to prevent multiple pages from feeding at once. Cleaning or replacing these components typically resolves multi-feed issues and reduces paper jams. Question 81. A technician needs to reinstall the operating system on a laptop using a bootable USB flash drive. However, when the system starts, it always loads the existing OS from the internal drive instead of detecting the USB device. Which of the following settings should the technician modify to ensure the system loads the OS from the USB drive? The answer is D. Boot order. To start the system from a USB device, the technician must modify the boot order in the BIOS or UEFI settings. This determines the order in which the system checks available devices during startup. Placing the USB drive at the top of the boot sequence ensures the computer loads the installation media instead of the internal storage drive. Question 82. A technician needs to make a folder accessible to multiple users across the local network so they can store and retrieve files from different workstations. The data should remain on a central device rather than being copied to each computer. Which of the following should the technician configure? The answer is B. Network share. A network share allows files or folders stored on one system to be accessed by other users on the same network. This centralizes data, supports collaboration, and avoids duplicate files on individual machines. Network shares are commonly created on Windows systems using the SMB protocol, allowing users to map shared folders as network drives. Question 83. A user reports poor print quality on their inkjet printer. The technician replaces the ink cartridges, but the print still appears streaked and faded. Which of the following actions should the technician take next? The answer is A. Clean the print heads. Replacing an ink cartridge provides fresh ink, but it does not correct issues caused by a clogged or dirty print head. The print head is the component responsible for spraying precise amounts of ink onto the paper, and over time, it can accumulate dried ink or debris. When this happens, the printer may produce streaks, faded areas, or uneven colors even with new cartridges installed. Cleaning the print heads removes this buildup. Question 84. A user reports that their laptop works normally when it is plugged into the charger, but immediately shuts down as soon as the power adapter is disconnected. The technician verifies that the power adapter is functioning properly. Which of the following should the technician do next to resolve the issue? The answer is C. Replace the battery. When a laptop shuts down as soon as it is unplugged, it means the battery is no longer holding a usable charge. Even if the power adapter is functioning correctly, a worn or failing battery cannot provide the power the laptop needs to run on its own. This is a common issue as batteries age and lose capacity. Replacing the battery will typically restore normal operation and allow the laptop to function properly without external power. Question 85. A technician is setting up cellular service on a modern smartphone, but the device does not have a physical SIM card slot. Instead, the cellular plan is activated digitally. Which of the following technologies is being used? The answer is C. eSIM. An eSIM, or Embedded Subscriber Identity Module, is a digital version of a traditional SIM card that is built directly into a mobile device. Because it is integrated into the hardware, there is no need for a removable SIM tray. eSIM technology allows devices to store multiple carrier profiles, simplifies switching between carriers, and reduces the need for physical SIM slots, helping modern smartphones save space and improve durability. Question 86. A technician discovers that a network device is being accessed using an unsecure remote login protocol, that sends all data, including passwords, in plain text. Which of the following port numbers is associated with this unsecure protocol? The answer is B. 23. Port 23 is used by Telnet, an unsecure remote access protocol that transmits all data in plain text. Because Telnet does not encrypt user credentials or session traffic, it poses a significant security risk on modern networks. Secure alternatives, such as SSH, use encryption to protect remote login sessions. Question 87. A business is upgrading its internet service to support large cloud backups, video conferencing, and high-speed file transfers. The company needs the fastest connection type available, with symmetrical upload and download speeds to keep performance consistent for both sending and receiving data. Which of the following internet connection types should the technician recommend? The answer is D. Fiber. Fiber internet provides the fastest speeds of any common broadband connection and offers symmetrical upload and download performance, which is essential for tasks like cloud backups, video meetings, and large file transfers. Fiber uses light transmitted over glass strands, allowing for extremely high bandwidth and low latency compared to DSL, cable, or wireless options. Question 88. A video editor needs a storage configuration that provides the fastest possible read speeds for working with large media files. Data redundancy is not a requirement, and the user is primarily concerned with performance. Which of the following RAID levels should the technician recommend? The answer is A. RAID 0. RAID 0, also known as disk striping, splits data across two or more drives to increase throughput. Because multiple disks are accessed at the same time, RAID 0 offers very fast read and write speeds, making it ideal for high-performance workloads, such as video editing. However, it provides no redundancy, meaning a single drive failure results in total data loss. Question 89. A technician needs a single connector type that can charge modern mobile devices and also support data transfer, audio, and video output on supported hardware. Which of the following connector types meets these requirements? The answer is B. USB-C. USB-C is a versatile connector used on most modern mobile devices. It supports fast charging, high-speed data transfer, and on many devices can also carry audio and video signals using technologies such as DisplayPort Alt Mode. Its reversible design and wide compatibility make it the standard connector for current smartphones, tablets, and laptops. Question 90. A technician needs to restrict network traffic by defining rules that allow or deny specific IP addresses and ports. Which of the following devices provides this type of access control capability? The answer is C. Firewall. A firewall uses ACLs to determine which network traffic is allowed or denied. ACLs evaluate details such as source and destination IP addresses, port numbers, and protocols to decide whether a data packet should pass through or be blocked. This allows organizations to enforce security policies, limit unauthorized access, and control the flow of traffic between networks. Question 91. A user wants a simple way to connect their laptop to multiple external devices, such as a keyboard, mouse, and monitor, using a single connection. The user does not require additional expansion capabilities or hardware features beyond basic port pass-through. Which of the following should the technician recommend? The answer is A. Port replicator. A port replicator expands a laptop's connectivity by providing pass-through access to common ports through a single connection, allowing the user to attach peripherals like a keyboard, mouse, and external display with ease. It is a straightforward option designed for basic peripheral expansion. While similar to a docking station, a port replicator does not typically add extra hardware features or enhanced capabilities. Question 92. A user reports that every time they print a document, the printer pulls paper from the bypass tray instead of the main tray. The technician confirms that the main tray is loaded correctly and the printer is not out of paper. Which of the following actions should the technician take to resolve the issue? The answer is B. Change the paper tray setting. Printers with multiple paper trays allow users to choose which tray the device should pull paper from, and this option can be set on the printer's control panel or within the print dialog on the computer. If the printer consistently pulls paper from the wrong tray, the paper source setting is most likely misconfigured. Correcting this setting ensures the printer selects the intended tray for future print jobs. Question 93. A technician needs to ensure that all devices on the corporate network maintain the same accurate system time so that logs, authentication events, and scheduled tasks stay synchronized. Which of the following network services provides this functionality? The answer is C. NTP. Network Time Protocol, or NTP, is used to synchronize the clocks of devices across a network, ensuring every system uses the same accurate time. Proper time alignment is essential for log accuracy, authentication, scheduled tasks, and correlating events across multiple systems. Without NTP, timestamps may become inconsistent, making troubleshooting and security auditing more difficult. Question 94. A user reports that their multifunction printer works normally for basic printing, but fails whenever they try to use a specific feature such as duplex printing or scanning to email. The technician verifies that the drivers are up to date and the settings are configured correctly, but the issue persists. Which of the following should the technician do next to resolve the issue? The answer is D. Update the printer's firmware. The printer's firmware controls many of the device's internal functions, including advanced features such as duplexing, scanning, and networking. When a specific feature fails while basic printing still works, outdated firmware is a common cause of compatibility or performance issues. Updating the firmware applies manufacturer fixes and enhancements that can ensure the printer operates correctly. Question 95. A technician is completing the initial configuration of a new SOHO router. After connecting the equipment and confirming that the network is operational, the technician wants to secure access to the router's management interface before making any additional changes. Which of the following should the technician do next? The answer is B. Change the default administrative password. Securing access to the router's management interface is one of the most important first steps when configuring a SOHO router. Default administrative usernames and passwords are widely known, often published online, and can easily be exploited by anyone on the local network. Leaving these defaults in place could allow unauthorized users to change critical settings, disable security features, or redirect network traffic. Question 96. A technician needs to install a wireless access point in an area where there is no nearby electrical outlet. The device requires both network connectivity and power, but the network switch does not support power over Ethernet. Which of the following devices should the technician use to provide power to the access point? The answer is B. PoE injector. A PoE injector adds power to an Ethernet connection when the network switch itself does not support power over Ethernet. It allows devices such as wireless access points, IP cameras, and voice over IP phones to receive both power and data over a single Ethernet cable. This makes PoE injectors ideal for installations in locations without nearby electrical outlets. Question 97. A company hosts sensitive internal applications in its private data center, but also wants to take advantage of scalable public cloud resources for workloads that experience heavy traffic during peak hours. The organization needs both environments to work together seamlessly. Which of the following cloud deployment models meets these requirements? The answer is C. Hybrid. A hybrid cloud combines a private cloud environment with public cloud services, allowing workloads and data to move between them as needed. This model lets organizations keep sensitive resources on premises while using the public cloud for scalability, flexibility, and additional capacity during peak usage. Hybrid cloud deployments provide a balance of security, performance, and cost efficiency. Question 98. A company wants to prevent unauthorized printing and ensure that only approved employees can release documents at shared multifunction printers. The technician needs to configure a feature that requires users to verify their identity before printing or accessing printer functions. Which of the following should the technician enable? The answer is B. User authentication. User authentication requires individuals to verify their identity, typically through pen codes, badges, or network credentials, before printing or accessing printer features. This prevents unauthorized use, protects confidential documents, and helps organizations track print activity. Question 99. A homeowner wants to extend wireless coverage throughout a large house and ensure that all wireless nodes communicate seamlessly with one another, even as users move between rooms. Which of the following devices should be installed to create this type of mesh network? The answer is D. Access point. Access points are used to expand wireless coverage by providing additional wireless nodes throughout an area. Multiple access points can work together to provide wide, consistent Wi-Fi coverage, allowing users to move from one area to another without losing connectivity. Question 100. A graphic designer is selecting a new monitor for color-critical work and wants the deepest blacks and the highest overall contrast ratio available. The technician explains that there is a display technology capable of turning individual pixels completely off, allowing for exceptional contrast levels. Which of the following display technologies is the technician most likely referring to? The answer is B. OLED. OLED displays provide the highest contrast because each pixel generates its own light and can turn off completely, producing true blacks. This creates a much greater difference between the brightest and darkest areas of an image. Traditional LCD technologies, such as IPS, TN, and VA, rely on backlighting, which prevents them from achieving the same level of contrast as OLED panels. Question 101. A company hosts a web application that experiences heavy traffic during product launches, but much lower activity the rest of the year. Management wants a cloud solution that can automatically allocate more computing resources during peak demand and scale them back down afterward to reduce cost. Which of the following cloud characteristics meets this requirement? The answer is D. Rapid elasticity. Elasticity refers to the cloud's ability to automatically scale computing resources up or down based on current demand. This allows applications to handle traffic spikes without performance loss and then reduce resources when they are no longer needed, optimizing both performance and cost. Elasticity is one of the core benefits of cloud computing, especially for workloads with variable usage patterns. Question 102. A technician is configuring a multifunction printer for a finance department that requires strict access control. To support secure printing, the technician enables NFC-based authentication so employees can release print jobs only after verifying their identity. Which of the following authentication methods will the NFC reader most likely rely on? The answer is A. Badging. Badging aligns closely with NFC authentication because NFC readers are designed to detect and process the contactless credentials stored inside employee ID badges. These badges contain embedded identifiers that can be read at very close range, which fits perfectly with the short-distance communication used by NFC systems. When an employee taps their badge, the NFC reader quickly retrieves the badge's stored credential and verifies the user's identity. Question 103. A company is developing an application built from several small, independent services. The technician needs a lightweight way to run each service in an isolated environment with minimal overhead. Which of the following solutions should the technician use? The answer is A. Containers. Containers are well suited for microservices because they isolate each service with its own dependencies while remaining lightweight and fast to deploy. They allow consistent behavior across development and production environments and require fewer resources than full virtual machines. This makes containers the preferred choice for running multiple small, independent service components efficiently. Question 104. A technician is installing a new high-performance graphics card into a desktop PC. Which motherboard interface should the technician use to connect the card? The answer is B. PCIe. Modern graphics cards use the PCIe expansion slot because it provides high bandwidth and fast, direct communication with the motherboard. PCIe slots are engineered to handle the heavy data throughput required by today's GPUs. This dedicated interface allows the card to transfer large amounts of graphics data efficiently, supporting demanding tasks like gaming, 3D rendering, and video editing. Question 105. A technician needs to trace an unknown network cable through a wall to determine where it terminates. Which of the following tools should the technician use? The answer is C. Toner probe. A toner probe is specifically designed to trace cables by sending a tone through a wire and detecting it at the other end with a handheld probe. This allows technicians to identify the exact cable route even when wires are hidden or bundled together. It is an essential tool for locating cable endpoints during network installation or troubleshooting. Question 106. A user reports that their tablet does not respond to touch. Which internal component is most likely malfunctioning? The answer is A. Digitizer. The digitizer is the component responsible for detecting touch input on a touchscreen device. It converts finger or stylus touches into signals the device can process. When the display still shows an image but does not respond to touch, the digitizer is the most likely point of failure. Question 107. A mobile user notices their mapping app loads location data faster when connected to a wireless network. Which feature is the device using to improve GPS accuracy? The answer is B. Wi-Fi assistance. Mobile devices can use nearby Wi-Fi and/or mobile networks to supplement GPS data and improve location accuracy. This process helps determine position more quickly by referencing known wireless access points. It is especially useful indoors or in areas where satellite signals are weak. Question 108. A technician investigates a report that a laptop works fine on Wi-Fi in the break room of a manufacturing facility, but loses its connection whenever the user places it near large industrial machines. Which of the following is the most likely cause? The answer is A. External interference. Large industrial equipment can generate significant electromagnetic interference that disrupts nearby wireless signals. Motors, heavy machinery, and high-voltage components often emit electrical noise that interferes with Wi-Fi radio frequencies. When the laptop is placed directly on or near this equipment, the interference can block or weaken the wireless connection. Question 109. A technician is installing a high-speed NVMe SSD into a user's laptop, but needs to confirm compatibility before proceeding. Which motherboard slot type must be present to support the new drive? The answer is D. M.2. NVMe SSDs require an M.2 slot that supports PCIe-based storage. M.2 provides the physical form factor for NVMe drives, while NVMe defines how data is transferred over the PCIe interface. Verifying that the laptop's M.2 slot supports NVMe ensures full compatibility and performance. Question 110. A technician is preparing to connect a cable modem for a home office and needs to use a cable type that supports broadband signals and terminates with an F-type connector. Which of the following cable types should the technician choose? The answer is B. Coaxial. Coaxial cable is designed for carrying broadband and television signals and commonly uses F-type connectors. These connectors screw onto the modem or wall outlet to provide a secure, interference-resistant connection. Coaxial cabling is the standard for cable internet installations. Question 111. A user reports that their voice over IP calls sound choppy and occasionally cut out, especially when other devices on the network are streaming video. The technician wants to prioritize voice traffic so calls remain clear even during heavy network usage. Which of the following should the technician configure? The answer is C. QoS. Quality of Service, or QoS, allows network administrators to prioritize specific types of network traffic, such as voice over IP, to reduce latency, jitter, and packet loss. By assigning higher priority to voice packets, the network ensures that call data moves ahead of lower priority traffic like video streaming or large downloads. This prioritization helps maintain clear, uninterrupted communication even when the network is heavily used. Question 112. A technician is configuring DNS settings for a new web server that uses an IPv4 address. Which type of DNS record should the technician create to map the domain name to this address? The answer is C. An A record. An A record maps a domain name to an IPv4 address, allowing clients to reach the server using its hostname. It is the standard DNS record type used for IPv4-based resources on a network or the internet. Without an A record, the domain would not resolve properly for IPv4 traffic. Question 113. A technician is preparing a new workstation for deployment and must ensure it can communicate with other devices on the local network as well as reach external websites. Which of the following network settings must the technician configure? The answer is D. IP address, subnet mask, and default gateway. A workstation needs an IP address, subnet mask, and default gateway to communicate on the local network and reach external networks like the internet. The IP address identifies the device, the subnet mask defines the local network range, and the default gateway provides a path to destinations outside the local subnet. Without all three values, network connectivity will be limited or unavailable. Question 114. A company moves its internal applications to a cloud provider. The technician explains that multiple customers share the same computing resources, but each customer's data and applications remain isolated from others. Which of the following cloud characteristics is being described? The answer is A. Multi-tenancy. Multi-tenancy is a cloud characteristic where multiple customers share the same physical infrastructure while their data and applications remain securely separated. It increases efficiency by allowing the cloud provider to maximize resource usage across clients. This model is common in public cloud environments and helps reduce costs while maintaining isolation. Question 115. A remote employee needs to securely access company resources from home. The technician implements a solution that creates an encrypted communication tunnel and requires user credentials for authentication before access is granted. Which of the following technologies is the technician using? The answer is B. VPN. A VPN creates an encrypted tunnel between remote devices and the corporate network, ensuring secure communication over the internet. It requires authentication credentials to verify user identity before granting access. This allows remote users to work as if they were connected locally while keeping data protected. Question 116. A technician is connecting a building to a distant network distribution point and needs a cable type capable of transmitting data over very long distances with minimal signal loss. Which type of cable should the technician use? The answer is A. Single-mode fiber. Single-mode fiber is designed for long-distance communication because it uses a narrow cord that allows light to travel in a single path, reducing attenuation and signal distortion. This makes it ideal for high-speed data transmission across many kilometers. It is commonly used in backbone and enterprise connections that span large distances. Question 117. A company is running several virtual machines in the cloud and wants each one to have guaranteed CPU and memory allocations that are not shared with other customers. Which cloud characteristic is the company requesting? The answer is D. Dedicated resources. Dedicated resources provide a customer with exclusive access to specific CPU, memory, or storage components, ensuring predictable and consistent performance. These resources are reserved for a single organization and are not shared with others. This is the opposite of shared resources, where multiple customers use the same underlying hardware. Organizations often choose dedicated resources when they require strict performance, security, or compliance guarantees. Question 118. A user connects a new 4K monitor to their workstation, but the display is limited to 1080p. Which type of problem is the technician most likely troubleshooting? The answer is B. HDMI cable version. Different HDMI cable versions support different maximum resolutions and refresh rates, so using an older cable can limit display performance even if the monitor and GPU support higher resolutions. If the cable cannot handle 4K output, the system will fall back to a lower supported resolution, like 1080p. Question 119. A company installs a new physical access control system that unlocks doors when employees hold their ID badges near a wall-mounted reader. Which of the following technologies is this system most likely using? The answer is C. RFID. RFID is commonly used in physical access control systems because it allows contactless communication between an employee badge and the reader. When the badge is held near the reader, the RFID tag transmits its identifier wirelessly, granting or denying access based on stored permissions. This makes RFID an efficient and widely adopted method for secure door entry. Question 120. A user reports that their documents are not printing, and the printer shows several jobs stuck in the print queue. Which of the following actions should the technician take to resolve the issue? The answer is A. Restart the print spooler service. When multiple print jobs are stuck in the print queue, it often indicates that the print spooler service has stopped responding. Restarting the spooler clears the stalled jobs and restores normal print processing. This is one of the fastest ways to recover from a frozen or backed up print queue. Question 121. A user wants their smartphone to back up photos and app data automatically but does not want these sync operations to use mobile data. Which settings should the technician configure to meet this requirement? The answer is C. Sync over Wi-Fi only. Mobile devices allow users to restrict data synchronization so it only occurs when connected to Wi-Fi. This prevents large backups or file transfers from consuming mobile data while still keeping information up to date. Enabling Wi-Fi only sync ensures cloud services operate efficiently without impacting the user's data plan. Question 122. A user sets up a new external monitor but cannot get a picture on the screen. The technician checks the back of the PC and notices that no display cable is connected. Which type of cable should the technician use to attach the monitor? The answer is A. DVI. DVI stands for Digital Visual Interface, a video cable standard used to connect computers to displays. It carries high-quality video signals and is one of several common display connection types alongside HDMI, DisplayPort, and VGA. Question 123. A user connects their laptop to a conference room projector, but the projector displays a no signal message, even though the cable is securely attached. Which of the following is the most likely cause of the issue? The answer is D. Incorrect input source. Projectors and displays often include multiple input ports such as HDMI, VGA, and DisplayPort, each corresponding to a different source option in the on-screen menu. If the device is set to the wrong input source, it will not display the connected device's output even when the cable and hardware are functioning correctly. Selecting the correct input source aligns the display with the active port, allowing the image to appear immediately. Question 124. A user reports that their smartphone case no longer fits, and the back of the phone appears slightly bulged. The device also feels warm even when not in use. Which of the following should a technician do first? The answer is A. Check for a swollen battery. A bulging phone case strongly suggests a swollen lithium-ion battery, which is a safety hazard. If a swollen battery is even suspected, the technician should immediately power off the device to reduce the risk of overheating, leakage, or fire. Swollen batteries must be handled carefully and replaced as soon as possible to ensure the device remains safe to use. Question 125. After a technician replaces the display assembly on a laptop, the user reports that the Wi-Fi signal is noticeably weaker than before the repair. The laptop connects only when near the router and frequently drops the connection in other rooms. Which of the following is the most likely cause? The answer is B. Wi-Fi antenna was not reattached or routed correctly. Wi-Fi antennas are typically routed through the laptop's display assembly, giving them a high position for optimal signal strength. After servicing a display, Incorrect antenna placement or loose connectors can significantly weaken wireless performance. Ensuring proper routing and secure connections is essential for maintaining stable and reliable Wi-Fi connectivity. Question 126. A user wants to connect their iPhone to a charger, but their current cable does not fit the device's port. The technician hands them a cable specifically designed for many Apple mobile devices. Which type of connector is the technician providing? The answer is A. Lightning. The Lightning connector is Apple's proprietary mobile device connector used on many iPhones, iPads, and accessories. Its slim, reversible design allows users to plug it in either direction, making it convenient for charging and data transfer. Question 127. A company allows employees to use their personal smartphones and tablets to access work email and applications. The IT department must apply security policies without taking full ownership of the devices. Which of the following best describes this type of mobile device deployment? The answer is D. BYOD. Bring Your Own Device, abbreviated as BYOD, refers to employees using their personal devices for work purposes while the organization applies necessary security and access controls. This model offers flexibility but requires strong policies to protect company data on privately owned hardware. BYOD environments typically rely on MDM tools to enforce security without fully managing or owning the device. Question 128. Which of the following accessories would a user most likely use as a pointing device on a laptop to control the on-screen cursor? The answer is C. Trackpad. A trackpad is the built-in pointing device found on most laptops, allowing users to move the cursor and perform gestures without an external mouse. It provides precise control through taps, swipes, and multi-finger actions. Trackpads offer convenience and portability, making them a standard accessory on modern laptops. Question 129. A technician is troubleshooting a streaming issue and explains that the application uses a connectionless protocol that sends data without verifying delivery to improve speed. Which type of protocol is the application most likely using? The answer is C. UDP. UDP is a connectionless transport protocol that sends data without establishing a session or verifying successful delivery. This design allows for low-latency transmission, making it ideal for streaming media, online gaming, and real-time applications. TCP, by contrast, uses connection-oriented communication with error checking and acknowledgements. Question 130. A technician is configuring an application that needs to query a directory service to look up user credentials and organizational information. The software requires the technician to manually enter the default port number used by this directory lookup service. Which port should the technician specify? The answer is B. 389. Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, or LDAP, is a directory service protocol used to query and manage user accounts, groups, and organizational information across a network. It communicates using port 389 by default, allowing applications to connect to the directory server and retrieve identity data. Question 131. A technician is upgrading an office wireless network and wants to use a Wi-Fi band that supports only the newest devices and offers access to wide, interference-free channels that older equipment cannot use. Which option should the technician select? The answer is D. 6 GHz. The 6 GHz band is available only to newer Wi-Fi 6E devices and provides large blocks of clean spectrum not used by older Wi-Fi technologies. Because legacy devices cannot connect to this band, it experiences far less congestion and interference. This makes 6 GHz ideal for high-performance wireless networks in dense environments. Question 132. A technician is configuring a wireless access point and notices that certain channel options are unavailable based on the country selected in the device settings. The technician explains that the access point must follow specific regional laws that govern which wireless channels can be used. Which of the following is the technician referring to? The answer is A. Channel regulations. Channel regulations determine which wireless channels are legally permitted in each country, and access points must follow these requirements. For example, the 2.4 GHz band includes Wi-Fi channels 1 through 13, but in the United States, channels above 11 are restricted and cannot be used for standard operation. Because these limits vary by region, access points automatically adjust the available channel options based on the selected country to ensure lawful, interference-free performance. Question 133. A technician wants to increase the throughput of a wireless network by combining 2 adjacent channels into one wider channel, allowing for higher data rates. Which wireless feature is the technician configuring? The answer is B. Channel bonding. Channel bonding combines 2 or more adjacent Wi-Fi channels into a single wider channel to increase data throughput. This allows devices to transmit more data at once, improving overall performance. It is commonly used in modern Wi-Fi standards to boost speeds when sufficient spectrum is available. Question 134. A technician wants to install a wireless access point that supports the newest and most efficient Wi-Fi standard. Which of the following should they choose? The answer is C. 802.11ax. 802.11ax, also known as Wi-Fi 6, is the newest mainstream Wi-Fi standard and delivers major improvements over previous generations. It increases efficiency by allowing more devices to communicate simultaneously, boosts overall performance, and handles crowded wireless environments far better than older standards. These enhancements make it ideal for modern homes, offices, and high-density areas where many devices compete for bandwidth. Question 135. Which of the following network appliances is designed to filter unwanted or malicious email before it reaches user inboxes? The answer is B. Spam gateway. A spam gateway is a dedicated filtering system that scans incoming email for spam, phishing attempts, and malicious content before the messages reach the internal mail server. It helps protect users from unwanted or harmful emails by blocking or quarantining suspicious messages. Question 136. A technician is called to investigate unusual behavior in an industrial facility where the heating, cooling, and water flow systems are controlled remotely. The technician discovers that these automated systems rely on specialized equipment designed to monitor and manage large-scale industrial processes. Which type of system is being used? The answer is B. SCADA. Supervisory control and data acquisition, or SCADA systems, are used to monitor and control large-scale industrial processes. They provide centralized oversight for operations such as water flow, power distribution, and environmental controls throughout a facility. Because these systems automate and manage critical infrastructure, they rely on specialized hardware and communication protocols to ensure safe and continuous operation. Question 137. Which of the following devices distributes incoming network or application traffic across multiple servers to improve performance and reliability? The answer is C. Load balancer. A load balancer divides incoming traffic among multiple servers so no single system becomes overwhelmed. This improves performance, increases availability, and provides redundancy if one of the servers fails. Load balancers are commonly used in web, application, and database environments to ensure consistent and reliable service delivery. Question 138. A technician is troubleshooting a smart thermostat that controls the HVAC system in an office. The device performs a single dedicated function, runs an operating system that cannot be accessed or modified like a traditional computer, and receives updates only from the manufacturer. Which type of device is the technician working with? The answer is A. IoT. Internet of Things, or IoT devices, use embedded operating systems designed to perform a specific function, such as controlling HVAC systems, lighting, or security sensors. These operating systems are lightweight and tailored to the device's specialized purpose, making them efficient but far less flexible than traditional desktop or mobile operating systems. Because of this limited design, IoT devices often prioritize functionality over advanced configuration or security capabilities. Question 139. A small business wants a single security appliance that can provide firewall protection, intrusion detection, content filtering, and antivirus scanning, all managed through one device. Which of the following solutions would best meet this need? The answer is D. UTM. A Unified Threat Management, or UTM device, combines several security functions, such as firewalling, intrusion detection and prevention, content filtering, and antivirus, into one centralized appliance. This all-in-one design streamlines security administration, reduces complexity, and eliminates the need to manage multiple standalone tools. UTMs are especially valuable for small and medium-sized businesses that require strong, comprehensive protection without deploying and maintaining separate security systems. Question 140. A company wants to centralize user authentication so employees can log in using a single set of credentials across multiple network services. The solution must also track user access activity and enforce permission policies. Which type of server should the technician deploy? The answer is C. AAA server. Authentication, authorization, and accounting, or AAA servers, manage identity verification, enforce access permissions, and track user activity across network services. By centralizing these functions, organizations can provide consistent login credentials while maintaining detailed control and auditing of resource usage. AAA servers are commonly used in enterprise environments to improve security and streamline account management. Question 141. A company has SPF and DKIM configured, but spoofed emails are still reaching customers. The security team wants a policy that tells mail servers to reject messages that fail authentication and also provides reports on spoofing attempts. Which of the following should they implement? The answer is D. DMARC. Domain-based message authentication reporting and conformance, or DMARC, lets a domain owner specify what receiving mail servers should do when an email fails authentication. It works with SPF and DKIM to enforce a reject or quarantine policy, which helps prevent spoofed emails from being delivered. DMARC also provides reports that show unauthorized sending attempts. Question 142. A technician is configuring a DHCP server and needs to define the specific range of IP addresses that the server will automatically assign to devices on the network. Which of the following should the technician create? The answer is C. Scope. A DHCP scope defines the exact range of IP addresses that a DHCP server can assign to clients. It includes the starting and ending addresses, along with related configuration details like subnet information. Without creating a scope, the server has no pool of available addresses to hand out. Question 143. A network administrator is reviewing DHCP information to determine which devices currently have active IP assignments and when those assignments will expire. Which of the following should the administrator check on the DHCP server? The answer is A. Leases. A DHCP lease is the temporary assignment of an IP address to a device for a specific period of time. The lease table on a DHCP server shows which devices have been issued addresses, when those leases were granted, and when they will expire. This helps administrators track active clients and identify any addressing issues. Question 144. A company wants to ensure that certain IP addresses inside the DHCP scope are never assigned to client devices because they are reserved for servers and network appliances. The technician needs to configure the DHCP server so these addresses are skipped during automatic assignment. Which of the following should the technician configure? The answer is A. Exclusions. DHCP exclusions are specific IP addresses or small ranges within a larger scope that the DHCP server is explicitly instructed not to assign to clients. These excluded addresses are typically reserved for servers, printers, network appliances, or other devices that require static IPs. Exclusions allow administrators to block off parts of a scope without shrinking or modifying the entire address range. Question 145. A home user needs internet service and is located in an area where connectivity is delivered over the same coaxial cables used for television service. The technician installs a device that converts this coaxial signal into an Ethernet connection for the user's wireless router. Which of the following devices is being installed? The answer is B. Cable modem. A cable modem provides internet access using the same coaxial cable infrastructure that traditionally delivers cable TV service. It receives radio frequency signals from the provider and converts them into a digital Ethernet connection that can be used by a router or directly by a computer. Cable modems often support high-speed broadband and are widely used in residential and small office environments. Question 146. Which of the following statements about IPv4 private and public addresses is correct? The answer is B. Private IPv4 addresses cannot be routed on the public internet. Private IPv4 addresses are reserved for internal networks such as homes, offices, and enterprise LANs, and they are not routable on the public internet. Public IPv4 addresses, on the other hand, are globally unique, assigned by ISPs or regional registries, and are fully routable across the internet. This distinction ensures that internal networks can operate independently, while public addresses remain uniquely identifiable online. Question 147. Which of the following is a valid private IPv4 address? The answer is A. 172.16.5.20. Private IPv4 addresses fall into three specific ranges that are used exclusively within internal networks such as homes, businesses, and enterprise LANs. These addresses are not globally unique and therefore cannot be routed across the public internet. They are designed to be reused in many different private environments without creating conflicts. This separation helps keep internal network addressing isolated from the public internet. Question 148. A customer frequently travels internationally and spends extended time in remote outdoor locations where wired service is unavailable and cellular coverage is inconsistent. They want an internet option that can still provide connectivity even in areas far from population centers. Which of the following connection types should the technician recommend? The answer is C. Satellite. Satellite internet is designed to provide connectivity in areas where traditional wired and cellular networks are unavailable or inconsistent. It relies on a dish that communicates with equipment in orbit, allowing coverage in remote regions worldwide. Because it does not depend on ground-based towers or physical cabling, it is often the only viable option in wilderness or rural travel scenarios. Question 149. A technician is explaining a network setup where users connect wirelessly to a router using radio frequency signals instead of physical cabling. This type of network allows devices, such as laptops, smartphones, and tablets, to join the same local network without Ethernet cables. Which of the following best describes this type of network? The answer is D. WLAN. A wireless local area network, or WLAN, allows devices to connect to a local network using wireless radio signals instead of wired Ethernet connections. It typically uses Wi-Fi technology to provide short-range connectivity within homes, offices, and buildings. WLANs offer flexibility and mobility by letting users move freely while remaining connected. Question 150. A network administrator needs to install wireless access points that require more power than the original PoE standard can provide. The devices need a standard capable of delivering up to 30 watts over Ethernet cabling. Which of the following IEEE standards meets this requirement? The answer is B. 802.3 AT. IEEE 802.3 AT, commonly known as PoE+, increases the available power delivered over Ethernet cables to about 30 watts. This allows devices such as higher-end wireless access points, cameras, and video phones to operate without separate power adapters. Question 151. A technician is installing Ethernet network cabling and needs a tool that can firmly seat each wire into the slots on the back of a patch panel while also trimming any extra wire at the same time. Which of the following tools should the technician use? The answer is C. Punch-down tool. A punch-down tool is designed to press individual wires into the terminal slots commonly found on the back of patch panels. As the wire is pushed into place, the tool simultaneously cuts off the extra length, leaving a clean and secure connection. This makes it ideal for structured cabling installations where many terminations must be completed quickly and consistently. Question 152. A security analyst needs to capture all network traffic flowing between two devices for monitoring and forensic analysis. The device used must allow traffic to pass normally while providing a separate copy of the data stream to a monitoring system without interrupting the network. Which of the following devices should be used? The answer is A. Network tap. A network tap is a hardware device that creates an exact copy of network traffic and forwards it to a monitoring or analysis system. It does this passively, meaning it does not interfere with normal data flow between devices. Because it provides full visibility into traffic without introducing latency or disruption, it is commonly used in security monitoring and forensic investigations. Question 153. A technician is troubleshooting poor wireless performance in an office and needs a tool that can measure signal strength, identify channel interference, and detect nearby access points. Which of the following tools should the technician use? The answer it is C. Wi-Fi analyzer. A Wi-Fi analyzer is used to measure wireless signal strength, identify channel congestion, and locate nearby access points. It helps technicians understand how radio interference and channel overlap are affecting wireless performance. Question 154. A technician suspects that a desktop computer's network interface card is not transmitting or receiving data correctly. They want to test the NIC directly by sending signals out of the port and checking if they return properly. Which of the following tools should the technician use? The answer is B. Loopback plug. A loopback plug connects a port's transmit and receive pins, allowing a device to send data out and immediately receive it back. This creates a self-contained test that verifies whether the port can properly transmit and interpret signals. Loopback plugs are commonly used for diagnostics, validation, and confirming that a network interface or port is operating correctly. Question 155. A technician finishes installing several Ethernet cables in an office and wants to confirm that each cable has proper continuity, correct pinouts, and no broken or crossed wires. Which of the following tools should the technician use? The answer is C. Cable tester. A cable tester verifies the wiring integrity of network cables by checking continuity, correct pin configuration, and the presence of opens, shorts, or crossed pairs. It ensures that each conductor is properly connected from one end of the cable to the other. Cable testers are essential for confirming that newly installed or repaired cables meet wiring standards before being used in a network. Question 156. A technician is learning about Ethernet cabling and notices that two wiring standards exist, even though the cables function the same way. Which of the following correctly identifies the difference between the T568A and T568B standards? The answer it is A. They swap the green and orange wire pairs. T568A and T568B are two wiring standards used for terminating twisted pair Ethernet cables. Both support the same speeds and functions, but they arrange the green and orange wire pairs differently on the connector. The remaining pairs stay in the same positions, so the overall cable performance is identical. Question 157. A technician is troubleshooting an older laptop that powers on but has a very dim display. Which of the following internal components is the most likely cause of these symptoms? The answer is C. Inverter. The inverter in older laptop displays is responsible for converting the laptop's DC power into the AC power required by the screen's backlight. When the inverter starts to fail, it can no longer provide consistent power to the backlight, causing the display to appear extremely dim or to flicker. In many cases, the laptop itself still functions normally, but the screen is barely visible because the backlight is not being properly energized. Question 158. A technician is working with multimode fiber cabling and needs to select a connector type that uses a round, bayonet-style twist and lock mechanism. Which of the following connectors should the technician choose? The answer is A. ST. The ST connector is a fiber optic connector that uses a round, bayonet-style twist and lock design. It is commonly used with multimode fiber and is recognizable by its cylindrical ferrule and spring-loaded locking mechanism. ST connectors were widely used in older fiber installations and remain common in certain enterprise environments. Question 159. A technician is troubleshooting an older desktop PC that intermittently loses power to internal components. They decide to check the internal power connections coming from the power supply to ensure all devices and the motherboard are receiving stable voltage. Which of the following connectors should the technician examine more closely? The answer is D. Molex. A Molex connector is a 4-pin power connector used in desktop computers to supply power to internal components such as older hard drives, optical drives, and case fans. If a system is experiencing inconsistent power delivery, checking these internal power connectors is an important troubleshooting step. Loose, damaged, or poorly seated Molex connectors can easily cause intermittent power issues. Question 160. A workstation is running out of storage space, but its internal drive bays are already full. The technician decides to expand capacity using an external drive that supports fast data transfers and works well with traditional hard disks. Which of the following connection types would be the most appropriate choice? The answer is B. eSATA. eSATA is an external variant of the SATA interface that is specifically designed for attaching external storage devices. It delivers transfer speeds similar to internal SATA connections, making it well-suited for high-performance external hard drives and SSDs. Question 161. A user complains that their laptop becomes extremely sluggish whenever they run applications that require a lot of memory. The technician decides the best solution is to upgrade the physical RAM using the type of module designed specifically for compact mobile systems. Which type of memory should the technician install? The answer is B. SO-DIMM. Small Outline Dual Inline Memory Module, or SO-DIMM, is the compact RAM format used in laptops and other small form factor systems. It performs the same function as a standard dual inline memory module, but uses a smaller physical design to fit inside portable devices. Question 162. Which of the following is a value that represents hard disk drive spindle speed? The answer is B. 15,000 RPM. Spindle speed refers to how fast the platters inside a traditional hard disk drive spin, and it is measured in revolutions per minute or RPM. Common spindle speed values include 5,400 RPM, 7,200 RPM, 10,000 RPM, and 15,000 RPM. These values directly affect how quickly data can be read from or written to the drive. The higher the RPM, the faster the read and write speeds. Question 163. A user needs a storage solution that can be easily carried between locations, offers fast performance, and is resilient because it has no mechanical components. Which of the following storage devices would best meet these requirements? The answer is C. SSD. A solid-state drive, or SSD, stores data using flash memory and contains no moving parts, which makes it faster, quieter, and more durable than mechanical drives. External SSDs are also lightweight and highly portable, making them ideal for users who need to carry data securely between locations. Question 164. A server administrator is configuring a new application server and needs a RAID level that delivers the highest performance while also providing full data redundancy. Which RAID option should be selected? The answer is D. RAID 10. RAID 10, also known as RAID 1 plus 0, combines disk mirroring and disk striping to deliver both high performance and strong redundancy. The stripe sets provide fast read and write speeds, while the mirrored pairs protect data in the event of a drive failure. Question 165. A technician is reviewing different storage device types and needs to identify the one that reads and writes data using a laser to access information stored on disks such as CDs, DVDs, or Blu-ray media. Which of the following devices operates in this manner? The answer is D. Optical drive. An optical drive uses a laser to read and write data on removable disks such as CDs, DVDs, and Blu-ray discs. The laser reflects off the disk surface to detect encoded data, allowing the drive to retrieve or store information. Optical drives are commonly used for media playback, software installation, and data archiving. Question 166. After installing a new processor in a desktop PC, a technician notices that the system fans immediately ramp up to full speed and the computer shuts down unexpectedly after a few minutes of use. Which of the following actions should the technician take to correct and prevent this issue from happening again? The answer is A. Apply thermal paste. Thermal paste fills microscopic gaps between the CPU and heatsink to ensure proper heat transfer. Without it, the processor overheats quickly, forcing the system to spin fans at maximum speed and eventually shut down to protect itself. Applying an even layer of thermal paste between the CPU and the heatsink allows the heatsink to draw heat away efficiently. Question 167. A technician attempts to install a CPU into a new motherboard, but finds that the processor's pins do not match the socket. Which of the following should the technician do next? The answer is C. Verify the socket type and manufacturer. CPUs are designed to fit only specific motherboard socket types, and major manufacturers like AMD and Intel use different physical layouts. If the pins do not align, it clearly indicates the CPU and socket are incompatible. The technician should verify that the motherboard supports the correct socket type for the CPU's brand and model. Confirming compatibility helps prevent component damage and ensures the upgrade can be completed properly. Question 168. A technician is selecting a processor architecture for a new line of compact mobile devices that require low power consumption, high efficiency, and excellent battery life. Which type of processor architecture is best suited for this use case? The answer is B. ARM. Advanced RISC machine or ARM processors are built on a reduced instruction set architecture designed for efficiency and low power usage. This makes them ideal for smartphones, tablets, IoT devices, and other battery-powered hardware. ARM chips generate less heat and extend battery life while still providing strong performance for mobile workloads. Question 169. A user wants to install a new power supply in a gaming PC. Before purchasing or installing the unit, which of the following should the user do first? The answer is D. Check the wattage rating. Before installing a new power supply unit, or PSU, the user must verify that the unit provides enough wattage to support all components in the gaming PC, especially the graphics card and CPU. Choosing a PSU with insufficient power can lead to instability, random shutdowns, or hardware damage. Confirming the wattage requirement ensures the new power supply will operate safely and reliably once installed. Question 170. An organization wants to reduce paper waste as part of a new environmental initiative. Which of the following printer configuration changes would most effectively support this goal? The answer is D. Enable duplex printing. Enabling duplex printing allows the printer to automatically print on both sides of the paper, cutting total paper usage nearly in half. This makes it one of the most effective settings for reducing waste and supporting environmentally friendly printing practices. Question 171. A business is using a dot matrix printer with multi-part carbon forms. Users report that the top sheet is coming out very faint, while the copies underneath are still readable. Which of the following is the most likely cause? The answer is C. The ribbon is worn and needs to be replaced. Dot matrix printers, a type of impact printer, use an inked ribbon to print the top sheet, while the remaining layers of a multi-part form rely on carbon pressure transfer. When the ribbon becomes worn or dries out, the first page appears faint because it is the only sheet that depends directly on the ribbon for ink. The additional sheets may still be readable since they do not rely on ribbon ink, but instead capture the force of the print pins through pressure. Question 172. A user reports that their desktop suddenly fails to start and displays a message stating no boot device is available. The system was working normally the previous day. Which of the following is the most likely cause of this issue? The answer is C. The hard drive is failing or not being detected. A no-boot device or bootable device not found error usually indicates that the system cannot detect the drive that contains the operating system. This can happen when a hard drive begins to fail, becomes disconnected, or is no longer recognized by the motherboard. Since the computer worked the day before, sudden drive failure or a loose connection is the most likely cause. Question 173. A user reports that the stylus for their tablet worked fine when first purchased but suddenly stopped responding after several days of normal use. The tablet's touchscreen still works with finger input. Which of the following is the most likely cause? The answer is D. The pen batteries need to be recharged or replaced. Active pens rely on an internal battery to power the sensors and circuitry that allow them to communicate with the tablet, detect pressure levels, and register tilt or precision input. When this battery becomes low or fully depleted, the pen can no longer send signals to the device, causing it to stop responding even though the touchscreen itself continues to work with finger input. Recharging or replacing the battery typically restores normal operation. Question 174. A technician is selecting cabling for a new high-speed network deployment that must support 10G base T. Which type of twisted pair cable meets this requirement? The answer is A. Cat 6A. Category 6A cabling is designed to support 10G base T, with 10G indicating 10 gigabits per second, base meaning baseband signaling, and T signifying twisted pair. Cat 6A offers improved shielding and reduced crosstalk compared to earlier categories such as Cat 5 and Cat 5e, which cannot reliably handle 10 gigabit performance. Question 175. A technician needs to perform initial configuration on an older network switch and must connect directly to its console port. Which type of connection is the technician most likely to use? The answer is B. Serial interface. Older network switches are typically configured through their console ports, which commonly use a serial connection such as RS-232. This allows a technician to access the switch's command line interface before any network settings are established. Serial console access is required for initial setup, troubleshooting, or recovering devices that cannot be reached over the network. Question 176. A technician is comparing display technologies for a mobile device and notes that one option can completely turn off individual pixels, improving battery life and producing deeper blacks. Which display technology offers this advantage? The answer is B. OLED. OLED displays generate light at the pixel level, allowing individual pixels to turn off completely when displaying black. This reduces power consumption and improves contrast compared to LCDs. Because OLED pixels emit their own light, they do not require a separate backlight and achieve deeper blacks and better energy efficiency. Question 177. A vendor instructs a technician to perform a firmware upgrade on a mobile device to resolve a reported issue. Before beginning the update, which of the following should the technician do first to ensure the process is not interrupted? The answer is C. Verify the device is fully charged. Firmware updates must not be interrupted, as a loss of power during the process can corrupt the firmware and render the device unusable. Ensuring the mobile device is fully charged greatly reduces the risk of an unexpected shutdown. This is especially important when the device may not remain connected to a charger during the update. Question 178. A small business reports that its thermal point-of-sale receipt printer is producing solid black strips instead of readable text. The paper feeds normally, but every printout is completely dark. Which of the following components should the technician inspect to diagnose the problem? The answer is A. Heating element. Thermal receipt printers use a heating element in the printhead to selectively darken specially coated thermal paper. When this element malfunctions or overheats, it can activate the entire surface of the paper instead of targeting only the intended print areas, leading to completely black receipts. In some cases, the issue may also stem from a heat setting that is configured too high, causing the printer to overheat the paper during normal operation. Question 179. A company is reviewing cloud billing structures and wants a model where it is charged only for the exact amount of resources it consumes, such as storage, compute time, or bandwidth. Which type of cloud pricing model fits this description? The answer is D. Pay-as-you-go. A pay-as-you-go model charges customers based on actual usage, making it a true example of metered utilization. This approach measures consumption in units such as compute hours, storage amounts, or data transfer, and bills only for what is used. It is highly flexible and cost-effective for workloads with changing or unpredictable resource needs. Question 180. A mail administrator wants to verify that an incoming email is being sent from a mail server authorized to send messages on behalf of the sender's domain. Which of the following email security mechanisms performs this type of IP to domain validation? The answer is A. SPF. Sender Policy Framework, or SPF, checks whether the sending mail server's IP address is authorized to send email for the domain listed in the message. This prevents attackers from spoofing the domain by using unauthorized servers. SPF is performed through DNS records that list approved sending hosts for a domain. Question 181. A technician is helping a user connect a new laptop to the corporate Wi-Fi network. Before making any changes to the network hardware, which of the following should the technician do first? The answer is D. Review the wireless settings on the laptop. When troubleshooting a new device that cannot connect to Wi-Fi, the first step should be to verify the laptop's own wireless settings. Incorrect SSID selection, disabled Wi-Fi, wrong security type, or an outdated password are common and easily identifiable issues. Checking the local settings is quick, non-disruptive, and avoids unnecessary changes to network infrastructure. Question 182. Employees report that the office Wi-Fi feels unusually slow throughout the day. Before adjusting any advanced configurations, which setting or condition on the access point should the technician check first? The answer is C. Location of the access point. Wi-Fi performance depends heavily on the physical placement of the access point, and even a well-configured device can perform poorly if positioned in the wrong location. Walls, furniture, appliances, and other obstacles can weaken or block the signal, while interference from cordless phones, microwaves, and neighboring networks can further degrade speed. Distance from the access point also plays a major role, as clients farther away receive a weaker and less stable connection. Question 183. A user explains that their laser printer is producing very faint text, even after a new toner cartridge was installed. The pages feed normally, but the print is still too light to read. Which component should the technician replace to resolve the issue? The answer is A. Transfer drum. In a laser printer, the transfer drum, or imaging drum, is responsible for receiving the toner image from the laser and transferring it onto the paper. If the drum becomes worn, damaged, or near the end of its service life, print output may appear consistently faint even when the toner cartridge is full. Replacing the drum restores the printer's ability to properly apply toner to each page. Question 184. A user has a new smartphone and a wireless headset and wants to use them together for calls and media playback. To establish the connection between the two devices, what should the user do? The answer is A. Enable pairing mode. Most wireless headsets connect to smartphones using Bluetooth, which requires both devices to enter pairing mode for initial setup. Once pairing mode is enabled, the smartphone can detect the headset and establish a secure wireless connection. This step is necessary before audio can be transmitted between the two devices. Question 185. A server's RAID 5 array shows a degraded status, and the system is running slower than normal. Before replacing hardware or making configuration changes, which action should the technician take first to identify the cause? The answer is B. Review the RAID event log. A degraded RAID 5 array usually means one of the drives has failed or it's experiencing errors, but the exact cause cannot be confirmed without examining the RAID event log. The log provides detailed information about drive failures, timeouts, and controller issues, allowing the technician to pinpoint the root problem before taking corrective action. Question 186. A technician is reviewing different types of internet connections for a residential customer. Which option provides internet service using existing copper telephone lines? The answer is C. DSL. Digital Subscriber Line, or DSL, delivers internet service over traditional copper telephone wiring, allowing simultaneous voice and data transmission on the same line. DSL is widely available in areas where fiber infrastructure has not been deployed, making it a common option in suburban and rural environments. Question 187. A technician responds to a ticket for a printer that suddenly stopped working. Upon opening the side panel, the technician notices that paper is stuck to the fuser assembly, and the fuser feels significantly hotter than expected. What should the technician do next? The answer is A. Disconnect power to the printer. A fuser runs at very high temperatures during normal operation, and an overheating fuser can present a burn hazard. Before attempting to remove jammed paper or inspect internal components, the technician must cut power to the unit to ensure it cools down and can be serviced safely. Once the device is powered off and cooled, further diagnosis can be performed. Question 188. For which type of device is a DHCP reservation most commonly used? The answer is D. Printer. DHCP reservations are typically used for devices that benefit from having a fixed and predictable IP address. Printers are a common example because users and systems often rely on the same address to consistently reach the device. Other frequent uses include servers, network storage devices, access points, and building control systems. Giving these devices reserved IP addresses ensures stable connectivity and simplifies network management. Question 189. A cloud administrator has launched a new application server and wants to ensure the service remains online even if one instance or component fails. Which of the following cloud design principles should be applied to avoid a single point of failure? The answer is B. High availability. High availability involves deploying redundant systems or resources so that if one component fails, another takes over without interrupting service. This design helps eliminate single points of failure and keeps applications accessible. In cloud environments, high availability may include load-balanced servers, redundant storage, or multiple availability zones. Question 190. A user installs a new 4K webcam for video conferencing, but the image refreshes very slowly and appears to freeze every half second. The webcam's specifications state it can stream smoothly at 60 frames per second, yet the video feed is choppy. What is the most likely cause of this issue? The answer is B. The webcam is plugged into a low-bandwidth USB 2.0 port. High-resolution webcams require a significant amount of data bandwidth to maintain smooth video output at high frame rates. When a 4K webcam capable of 60 frames per second is connected to a USB 2.0 port, the limited throughput cannot keep up with the required data rate, resulting in freezing, lagging, or very slow frame updates. Connecting the webcam to a newer, high-bandwidth USB version, such as USB 3.0, provides the performance needed for full-quality streaming. Question 191. A technician is setting up a new USB wireless adapter for a user and wants to ensure the device operates with the most up-to-date and secure software. What is the best way for the technician to obtain the latest official drivers? The answer is A. Download the drivers directly from the manufacturer's website. The vendor's official website provides the most reliable and up-to-date drivers for new hardware. These drivers are tested, supported, and often include important fixes or performance improvements not found in older installation disks or automatic OS selections. Additionally, using unofficial or third-party drivers can lead to instability or security risks. Because the technician wants the newest and most trustworthy software, downloading drivers from the manufacturer's website is the best option. Question 192. A technician receives reports that several virtual machines cannot start. After investigating, the technician finds that the shared storage pool used by the virtualization hosts has reached full capacity. To restore service, the technician plans to expand the available storage. Which type of network will the technician need to work with? The answer is D. SAN. A storage area network, or SAN, is a high-speed network that provides shared storage resources for servers and virtual machines. When VMs rely on a central storage pool, running out of space on the SAN can cause machines to shut down or fail to start. Expanding or reallocating storage within the SAN resolves capacity issues and restores normal operation. Question 193. During a voice over IP call, A user reports that the other person's voice keeps cutting in and out, making the conversation difficult to follow. The connection does not drop, but the speech sounds choppy and inconsistent. Which of the following best explains the issue? The answer is C. High latency. Voice over IP relies on a steady, consistent flow of small data packets. When latency or jitter increases, packets arrive late or out of order, causing speech to sound broken, choppy, or distorted. Even though the call stays connected, the audio quality becomes poor because the voice data stream is no longer smooth. Question 194. In which frequency range do the 802.11b and 802.11g wireless standards operate? The answer is B. 2.4 GHz. Both 802.11b and 802.11g operate exclusively in the 2.4 GHz frequency band. This band provides wider coverage and better penetration through walls than higher frequency options like 5 GHz, making it useful for larger or obstructed areas. However, it is also more prone to congestion. As a result, networks using 802.11b or 802.11g may experience more interference in busy environments. Question 195. A technician reviews the network configuration shown in the output below. Based on this information, which IP address is being used as the default gateway? The answer is C. 172.25.1.252. The default gateway represents the router that a computer uses to reach destinations outside its local subnet. It is the next hop address that forwards traffic to other networks, including the Internet or remote VLANs. Without a valid default gateway, a device can communicate only with systems on the same local network. Question 196. A technician is helping a user who cannot access the Internet. To begin the diagnosis, the technician checks the device's IP settings, confirms whether it has a valid default gateway, and tests connectivity using several network commands. Which phase of the troubleshooting process is the technician performing? The answer is C. Identify the problem. According to the CompTIA troubleshooting methodology, the first step in troubleshooting is to identify the problem, which includes gathering information. Running network commands to check IP configuration, gateway settings, and basic connectivity is part of this information gathering process. These tests help the technician understand the scope of the issue before forming a theory or planning corrective action. Question 197. Which of the following network devices can automatically assign IP addresses to clients on a small office or home network? The answer is A. Router. In a small office, home office environment, the router usually serves as the DHCP server for the entire network. This means it dynamically assigns IP addresses, default gateways, and other configuration settings to connected devices without requiring manual setup. While enterprise environments may use dedicated DHCP servers, home and small business networks rely on the router to perform both routing and address distribution. Question 198. A technician is troubleshooting an intermittent network connection at a workstation located far from the wiring closet. The cable run from the switch to the workstation measures roughly 116 meters or 380 feet. The link lights on the NIC occasionally blink, but the workstation frequently loses connectivity. Which of the following is most likely the issue? The answer is D. The distance of the cable run. Twisted pair Ethernet cabling, such as Cat5, Cat5e, and Cat6, is limited to a maximum distance of 100 meters or 328 feet for proper signal integrity. When a cable run exceeds this limit, the signal begins to weaken, causing intermittent connectivity and unstable network performance. Question 199. The user reports intermittent connectivity. The technician checks the network logs and sees the output below. Which of the following is the most likely reason for this issue? The answer is D. Port flapping. The network log displays repeated messages indicating the interface is transitioning between an up state and a down state. This pattern is characteristic of port flapping, where the physical or logical connection drops and reestablishes rapidly. Question 200. A technician is upgrading a graphics workstation and wants to ensure the GPU has the appropriate type of memory for handling high-resolution rendering tasks. Which type of specialized memory is designed specifically for use in graphics controllers? The answer is A. VRAM. Video RAM, or VRAM, is a type of memory optimized for use in GPUs and graphics controllers. It stores image data, textures, and frame buffers, allowing the graphics processor to quickly access and render visual content. VRAM is designed for high bandwidth and parallel access, which is essential for demanding workloads like 3D modeling, video editing, and gaming. Wow! You have completed 200 questions. How about one more question as a reward for your hard work? Question 201. A user asks a technician to connect a laptop to an older projector that only supports an analog video signal. Which type of cable should be used to make the connection? The answer is B. VGA. Older projectors typically rely on Video Graphics Array, or VGA, an analog video standard commonly used for connecting PCs to legacy display equipment. Since VGA transmits analog signals, it remains fully compatible with devices that lack support for modern digital interfaces such as HDMI or DisplayPort. Congratulations on completing our CompTIA A+ Core 1 practice exam. Your dedication and effort are truly commendable. With this milestone behind you, you're one step closer to earning your A+ certification. While you've already accomplished a lot, a bit of extra review never hurts. With that said, feel free to revisit our free training videos or take another round of the practice exam whenever you'd like. It's all about making sure you're fully prepared. So stay confident, give it your best, and remember, we're cheering you on all the way. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more great content.